Hi everyone, welcome to this quick tutorial on banking and financial services. In this, we'll be looking into what is a BFSI industry first of all, and then look at some of the products and services that it offers, right? So with that, let's move on. So let's begin with what is a BFSI, right? And we will spend maybe a few minutes talking about that just to really make sure everybody is comfortable. Let me just bring up my marker. So BFSI is an acronym, first of all, and it's a short for banking, financial services, and insurance, right? So as you can see from the name itself, this covers really a wide variety of activities, products and services and different customers, different models. So it'll be, very, very appropriate to say that this includes a wide gamut of activities and business models. And we'll be looking at some of them today in our discussion. It's coming up down the road. So let's look at what is the definition that people use to define the BFSI, right? Here is a definition from Wikipedia. Let's just take a minute to look at it. So BFSI comprises of commercial banks, insurance companies, non-banking financial companies, cooperatives, pension funds, mutual funds, smaller financial entities, and so on and so forth, right? So it's just basically the different shape and form of the companies. At the same time, if you look at what exactly it offers the core banking, to retail, private, corporate, different investment cards, and miscellaneous other services. We'll be talking about each one of them in more details in a few slides down the road, right? So, with that, let's move on. So, as you quickly figured out, based on our discussion so far, that the BFSI is really very, very wide, right? And in this slide, what we're going to do is we will strip off the B. So, if you remember, we talked about the BFSI, which is nothing but the banking, financial services, and insurance. And we all agreed that this is really a very, very wide area. So, what we're going to focus on now is just the B part, which is the banking, right? And we will be talking about the financial services and insurance in a couple of slides. But let's just look at how we really define the banking and what the banking is all about, right? And this is just one of the potential way of dissecting the banking industry. There are many, many ways of doing that, but this is one of the most popularly or most common way of dissecting the banking industry, right? And if you look at if you just take a look at this for a minute, you will quickly know that we are looking at dividing the banking industry by the end customer, right? So in this case, when we're defining a personal banking, as the name suggests, personal banking is basically a banking which is more focused on the retail customers like you and me. And most of the customers who typically visit a banking branch or do online banking and stuff like that, right? We'll be talking about the products in a short while as well. Now, this is the first part of the banking. The second part is what we call as a commercial banking, right? And what do we have in the commercial banking? Commercial banking focuses on looking into the small and large scale companies, right? So this could be focused on small businesses, this could be banking for big corporates, and any shape in between. That is basically the focus area for the commercial banking, right? Now, the opposite end of the spectrum, you will see what we have over here as central banks, right? These are the banks which basically, sort of like you can think about, these are the banks for banks, right? So they do not deal with the end customers directly, but they are there to manage the bank, set the guidelines, set their standards, protocols, all of that that the other banks have to really follow and adhere to, right? What could be some of the examples of these central banks? So Federal Reserve in US is one good example, right? They will basically decide all the policies, the protocols, the standards for the banking, and the rest of the banks have to adhere. So Federal Reserve is one big example in the US. Similarly, we can think about, let me just switch to a different page. so that I can write down very quickly. Yeah. So similarly, you can think about RBI or Reserve Bank of India. So none of us, I mean, unless you happen to be a banker, would be visiting RBI for doing our regular banking, right? But the RBI officials will be controlling all the other banks like SGFC or ICICI or State Bank of India to really set the standards and ensure the compliance from different departments, right? So that's briefly about the overall differentiation into the different branches of the banking. Now let's focus again a little bit on the personal banking, and let me just get my marker up and running one more time. And if we go look at the personal banking, so we talked about that this is for the end retail customers, right? Now if you look at what types of products and services it has, it basically has your day-to-day products and services like the checking account, saving account, fixed deposit, credit cards, debit cards, foreign exchange, your demand draft, money transfer, all of that, the day-to-day things that we require and need from the banking, right? On the other hand, commercial banking will be having most of the products that you saw in the personal banking, because even the businesses need some of those products and services as well, right? In addition, they will have some of the things which are only focused for the bigger enterprises, like the payroll accounts, right? So if you happen to have a big company, you will have, a lot of team members in your team as well, right? And you need to process their payments, and you need to have all the support for doing this payroll servicing. So it's basically that sort of account. If you are a merchant, you will have a merchant account where you can actually accept the payment, and you can have the clearing and so on and so forth. You will have the commercial financing option as well. You have the treasury option. You will have the international money transfer and stuff like that, which a big company and business will be requiring, right? So that's briefly about the banking. Hopefully, you got some sense out of this. All right. And if there is any question, feel free to just write your comments there, and I'll be more than happy to help you out with that.